One way to dramatically decrease the stress in your office is to make sure you can do your final reports contemporaneously before the patient even leaves the office. We've thought about this a lot in TDO, and we're able to do this in TDO, and I'd like to show you how we do this. When you consider what has to happen in a final report, you have to take the final radiograph. You have to do your treatment notes and final report notes. You have certain data that needs to go into the report. The tooth number, the date started and completed, the pre- and post-op diagnosis, the prognosis, the recall date, what was done, any restorations needed. So there's a lot of data that has to go in this report that you need to fill out. So I'd like to show you how easy this is to do in TDO. So let's take it from the moment you complete a case. Here we are putting the final restoration in a case we've just completed. We take the dam off. And now we have to go about generating the report, all the things necessary to do. So the first thing to do is you need to take a final radiograph because that needs to go into the final report. So you ergonomically take the final radiograph. And while I'm putting the patient up, getting ready to discuss the case with the patient, if you notice what Joy is doing there, she's actually starting the final report right now while I go through my narrative with the patient. So I'm explaining what we did with the patient, and Joy is at her computer. She's actually filling the final report out. So I go through my description with the patient.
Let's review the case a little bit. This is what we started with, a very tender tooth with a shadow around the end of the root. And today...
So as I'm doing this, I'm planning my final report. I'm already thinking about the images that I want to go on the final report. All the while, Joy is creating the final report while I am talking. This is actually her screen. She's using the macro note to do the final notes. She's filling out the form based on what I'm telling the patient, and she's appointing for the next recall.
Let's do the report right now.
So what I do is I double check and make sure the treatment form has been filled out with no errors. I take a quick look at the final report page to make sure everything has been put into and Joy has done it correctly. Then I just send an email to the referring doctor that gives them a notice that the final report is now available. When they click on that link in their email, they're taken directly to the case on your website. To complete the final report process, I load letters. In letters, you select the custom templates that you have made that you want to send. After it's selected, the template auto-populates from data in your record, and the final report is created automatically. Then press just save and send, and that report is now on your referring doctor's desk.
It's been a pleasure treating you. You've been a great patient.
Thank you.
Okay.
The referral doctor selects the email, presses on the link, and immediately reads the report before the patient has even left your office. Let's think carefully about what has to really happen at a recall exam, besides just taking a radiograph. Well, you have to perform all the diagnostic tests: percussion, palpation, mobility. You have to do the periodontal probings and a soft tissue exam. Then you have to form a recall diagnosis of how the tooth is doing, and then you have to issue a recall report. But that is not the only thing that needs to be done during a recall report. At a bare minimum, what also needs to be done is that you need to record if the tooth has been restored or not. You should check the occlusion. You have to check and see if there's any coronal leakage or decay around the margins. Then you should compare with prior radiographs. Then you should determine if further recalls are necessary and schedule those recalls if you can. So there's a lot of things that need to be done at just a standard recall at a minimum. And I'd like to show you how TDO manages all of this effortlessly and seamlessly within TDO. Take a look at how TDO accomplishes all of these things easily and effortlessly during a recall exam. What we're going to do is we're going to show the entire recall exam. It was 7 minutes long. Speed it up so you can see all of the things that we've done. And nothing has been cut out. This was the entire recall appointment, from talking to the patient to the final sending of the report to the referring doctor to describing the case with the patient. In this recall, all the data that we've described has been collected and entered into the record. Now let's look at the recall form that allows this to happen so easily. You have the prior clinical information on the recall page, the prior probings, and you specify the year recall it was. This was a 15-year recall. You're able to put in the prior data from the last recall that was done automatically, so you only have to change what has been different. In this case, we found a 7mm pocket in the buccal furcation, so we changed that data and we took pictures of it. The camera and the digital radiography sensor are controlled from the recall page, making this effortless and seamless to acquire pictures and radiographs. The recall radiograph is taken and it automatically appears into the recall page. As you do your exam, you check off all the variables that a good recall exam requires. Then you make your diagnosis, your clinical finding for the final report, and you enter those findings on the recall page so it goes into the record. In this case, there was a class 2 focal involvement. We enter that into the record. And now our clinical findings on this recall are done. We come over and we add a comment that we want to appear on the recall report, warning the referring dentist that there is a periodontal problem. And then we just click yes to send the recall report. Click send now, and that recall report is now on that doctor's desk while the patient is probably still in your office.